And now, if anyone has questions, books, blogs, vaginas, my mom. Yes. Hi. Oh my gosh. Thank you. She's paying me lots of compliments.
I was wondering, do you miss being on the newspaper, the Daily?
Do I miss being at a newspaper? I mean, it's so funny. For the longest time, I have this like 20 pages of advice for writers on my blog, and I would tell young writers, go get a job at a newspaper. Like, go find some like tiny, crappy paper, someplace you've never lived before, write 5 stories a day, meet all kinds of new people, be new places, see new things. It will do wonders for your writing. Unfortunately, those jobs don't really exist anymore, and now everybody is like a content provider on a couch in Brooklyn. You know, I loved being a reporter. I loved it, loved it, loved it. I loved like just like getting in a car with my notebook and going to cover some disaster or concert or the Spice Girls or WrestleMania or whatever pop culture thing was going on. And I do miss it, but newspapers are struggling badly right now. They haven't figured out a way to sort of monetize content, and they're, you know, I still have friends at the Philadelphia Inquirer, and, you know, I watch buyouts happen and cutting happen and people losing their jobs. So I do miss it, but I'm really, really glad I landed on my feet, and I'm really, really glad that blogging and tweeting gives me the kind of access to people, the way to talk to them every day, the way I could when I had a column. So yeah, I do miss it, but I found a substitute. Yes. Over here? Oh, there's a microphone. That's what you're showing me. Okay. I'm just not used to random men pointing at things. Yeah, do you have a question? No? Just waving? Nice sweater. That's cool. Anybody over there? Yes. Hello. The pub date of my day, oh God, love you. It's called The Next Best Thing. It's coming July 3rd. I spent last year in Hollywood running a sitcom with Raven-Symoné. Perhaps you didn't see it. It was on ABC Family, and like honestly, the hardest part was trying to explain to my Nana the difference between ABC Family and ABC. Right? She's like, so it's ABC. I'm like, no, it's ABC Family. She's like, so it's channel 6. I'm like, I don't know what channel it is on your cable box. She's like, but it's with Dancing with the Stars. I'm like, no, that's ABC. You need ABC Family. It's a cable. And she's like, so it's ABC. I'm like, oh my God. Like, I'll send you videos, okay? Just never mind. So it's about a showrunner who's 28 years old. She has had her heart broken by a fellow writer. She gets her show picked up. She's in love with her boss. The boss is in a wheelchair. She thinks he wants nothing to do with her. And she's trying to make her show and navigate her love life, and her grandmother's getting married. So there's all that going on. So July 3rd. It has a swimming pool on the cover. You can't miss it. Yes, of course.
I just wanted to thank you for changing the trajectory of my book. I'm Jillian Meta.
Hi, Jillian! Oh my God! You guys, okay, her book is I Couldn't Love You More, and it is fantastic, and it's out now, and there's a sandcastle on the cover, and it's about blended families, love and loyalty and children, and it's funny and heartbreaking, and everybody please go, like, do me a solid and go buy it, okay? Like, really?
I wanted to thank you because of also the book blogger community, the trajectory of this book has changed. I mean, it was considered, you know, just a regular book that was coming out, and it's been doing really well, and I think it's all because of you, and it's certainly because of you.
Well, thank you guys, okay? Yes.
Do you know the numbers in terms of how big this community is in terms of book blogging? And it seems to be there are a lot of women discussing this issue here.
Yes.
There are a lot of degreed women who have gone into writing programs. Their professors are not necessarily all female. And there seems to be no statistics that I know about, no matter how many industry associations I join, about what our impact is, about banking for writers or banking for writers that become authors or press people that leave and become bloggers. And you could go on and on and on about the creative community and our impact, but obviously people want to have families and use technology. So could you let us know if narrators are working with bloggers, if videographers are working with bloggers, and if we are helping our own neighborhoods have more money in them?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's been interesting for me watching where ad dollars have moved, because it used to be when you had a book come out, you'd buy that announcement ad in the Times, you know, that full page. It would come on a Tuesday or a Wednesday or Thursday, you know, Jonathan Grisham's new book, Nicholas Sparks' new book. And then it was sort of like, okay, we don't really think people are reading the paper the way they used to. They're reading it on handhelds, on iPads. People Magazine, to me, is now the go-to place. And People, I think, has something like a 70% female readership. So, I mean, you know, not to diss men, but the last statistic I saw is that 20% of fiction is bought by men. And so if you write fiction and you're trying to be smart about spending your money, like, you don't ever want to cut men out. You don't ever want to say to an audience, you're not welcome. But you do want to be strategic about where you're spending your ad dollars. And so for me, it's like, it's People, it's billboards, and it's lots of blogs. And it's blogs about not only books, but blogs about fashion and celebrity and other places that we know that sort of my demographic visits. So I do, you know, in terms of how many bloggers are women, I mean, like, look at this room. You know, it's so interesting, and I don't understand, I mean, I don't understand a lot of things. I don't understand how the Times works. I don't understand how their attitude towards women's fiction, given that so many women are readers and seem to read so much more than men. I don't know how they can have, for example, a regular column devoted to crime, which we know men read, and women read crime too, but like every Sunday there's Marilyn Stasio talking about crime, and I'm like, where is the comparable roundup of romance? Romance sells way more than crime does. Like, why is it invisible to the Times? So work to be done is what I would say. Other questions? Yes?
Can you tell us what you're working on next?
Can I tell you what I'm working on next? Oh boy, is that a good question. Right, I'm working on publicizing my new book, The Next Best Thing, which comes out July 3rd from Atrium. Let's see, I have that book, it's a month away, so honestly, like, what I'm doing now is like lots of interviews, Q&As, planning the book tour. I'm thinking about what's next, and I'm not exactly sure, but I have an idea about women who become obsessed with each other online. It's so interesting. I have a title too, which I'm going to give it to this room. Nobody use it because I'll hunt you down and cut you. But I want to call it the overshare, because it's such an interesting concept. Like, what is an overshare? What's too much, and who gets to say, right? Because, like, there's someone I know online who, like, she's not exactly an enemy, but she's not exactly a friend either. And I know everything about her, from how much her son weighs to how much she paid for her house to, like, all kinds of completely inappropriate. There is no way in hell that even her best friend should know this, but it's all online. So, like, I know it, and, like, there's a word, like, hate viewing is when you watch a show you hate just to make fun of it. And I think that there's got to be some kind of online equivalent for that. But I have this idea of, it's like two women who become obsessed with each other, who are both trying to put perfected versions of themselves online while living very different lives in real time. So that's a big, vague, my agent is in here somewhere, and she's probably taking notes. And she's going to give me comments when I'm off the stage. So please keep asking me questions. Yes?
I was curious. I'm a teen fiction blogger at Mandy's Bookshelf, and I saw that you tweeted Sarah Dessen on there.
Yes.
And your work with and promoting women's fiction has really inspired me, because teen fiction has a lot of the same problems, mostly because a lot of teen writers are also women.
Yes.
And I was curious, I don't know how much you know about teen fiction or how involved you are, but I was curious how you think that that's changing. I mean, you never used to see reviews in the New York Times, and I'm starting to see them for teen books.
Pamela Paul, who is in charge of their children's coverage, I think is very smart, and I think she's the one that's driving the reviews that we're seeing now. But OMG, do you guys have it worse? Like, because, I mean, do you remember that whole debate in the Wall Street Journal about, like, is it too dark? Like, if you, do you remember? Yeah. Duh. Like, but if you have a book where there's cutting, which is a thing that happens, is that going to make girls who read it either want to cut themselves or feel that what they're doing is somehow justified because now they're reading about it in a book? Now, I tend to have a little more respect for my readers than that, even teenage readers, to think that just because you see something in a book does not mean you're going to go out and do it, like marry a vampire and have his vampire baby. Haven't really seen a lot of that happen, have you? Right? So, but yeah, I mean, I've been fascinated by that debate, like the how dark is too dark in YA. And I think, like, as a teenager, like, I would have felt pretty good reading some of that. Like, I think Judy Blume had some darkness in there, along with stuff like masturbation and menstruation and where are my boobs, God? I did not have that problem. I was like, are you there, God? It's me, Jen. Could you stop this shit? Because, like, I'm not going to be able to wear anything. It's embarrassing. Everybody's staring at me. But, you know, that and then the whitewashing thing, the characters of color being depicted as white on book covers, which is fascinating to me. Because you've got authors saying, that's not what I imagined my character looking like, and you've got publishers saying, hey, we've got to sell this thing. And it's a really, really interesting throwdown. So I love YA. I read a ton of it. I read Hunger Games, you know, obviously I'm reading Pure right now. I read Twilight just to see what the fuss was about, and I get it, and the whole, like, vampire baby thing. You know, but, you know, I love YA, and I think that, like, some of the smartest voices and some of the sharpest observations about what's happening in the world now are happening in that part of literature. So, yay for you.
Thank you.
Yes. Anyone else over this portion? Yes, way in the back, waving, in the pink. Hi.
Hi. I wanted to ask because in the recent months, I wanted to ask what you thought about authors who react extremely negatively towards book bloggers. So I found that because book bloggers don't have, for instance, publication behind them, a lot of authors with issue of negative reviews can become incredibly inappropriately vocal about it.
The Greek seaman's wife, was that the one that... Yeah, there. For those of you who don't know, there was a self-published book that could have used an editor. I'm going to say that nicely. The book could have used an editor, and probably not the word semen in the title. So basically, this website published a review, and it wasn't even that bad of a review. It was just like, this book really could have used an editor, and there was this and that, and the writer went fucking batshit. And I think I'm saying that conservatively. She went off the rails, and there was like a 500 comment stream, and basically people were piling on her and saying, oh my God, she's crazy, someone get this woman offline. I mean, I don't think there's any way for an author to respond to a bad review without looking bad. I mean, I think that sort of talking about what Jane Smiley said about my book years later is about as close as you can come. And if you're saying it's indicative of sort of a broader dismissal of a genre instead of, she's being mean to me, you know, that's always a better way to handle it. But I think you're absolutely right. I think that lots of readers that would not feel empowered to go after the Times or Newsweek or the New York Times or the New Yorker feel that a blogger is just another person, or if you're really being mean, a loser in pajamas in her mom's basement who only has internet access when her mom's out of the house, and will respond to a bad review accordingly. So, I mean, if I could give authors like Author 101, it would just be like, just move on. Like, don't look, like, don't set up Google alerts, don't read your reviews. I don't read mine. Like, negative, positive, anything in between. They're going to get in my head, and they're going to make me crazy, and I'm going to spend 3 days, like, having a dialogue with the person. Like, I remember when Good in Bed, like, somebody wrote, like, I hate this character because she's obsessed with stupid pop culture. And for 3 days, 3 days of my book tour, I went around being like, well, so what if she's obsessed with stupid pop culture? She's 28, she's supposed to care about that stuff, and who are you? And you're probably old, and like on and on. And now that I'm old, I feel really guilty about that, but so I think that if you're a writer, and I don't know how many people in this room are writers, but just like Frankie says, just relax, don't do it. Does anybody even remember that reference? Thank you. Thank you. And if you're a blogger who gets an author who's going batshit insane on you, I think what you say is, thank you for taking the time to read my review and respond. Period. I think that's it. And you don't engage, you don't poke the crazy. This is something I've learned in my 42 years, and I might get it tattooed somewhere. Don't poke the crazy. Yeah, except tattoos stretch, and then it's just unfortunate when you're 80. I think I agree that people that feel like they can't go after the big guys go after the little ones, and it says more about the author than it does about the medium. So I think if you're an author and you have to say something, you say, thank you for taking the time to review my book, to think about it, to write about it, to publish your thoughts. I appreciate your time. If it's a negative review, that is the only thing you can say without coming out of it looking like an asshole. And if you're a blogger and somebody's going off on you, all you say is, thank you for taking the time to read my review and respond. There, see, everyone's happy. Right? Anyone want to solve world peace, Middle Eastern things now? I can help, I'm here for you. And yes, over there.
Can I? Oh, sorry.
Or just yell. I have good hearing, bad eyesight, but.
I just have some questions about Twitter and your blogging process.
Yes.
When you tweet,
do
you, I recently saw a writer, Anna Loeffler, at a conference, and she said that she does 7 drafts before each tweet.
What?
Do you give her any kind of draft?
Does she have kids? Who is this person? Anna who?
Loeffler, she was in the dictionary. She went through this massive process.
Right.
About this Timothy article about girl with vagina. Anyway, she went through 6 drafts.
I have enough trouble with one.
Yeah.
Go on.
Anyway, 6 drafts of it in front of us. Do you have any kind of drafting process?
You know what? Okay, I was laughing, but I do. I draft tweets. I play with them until they sound right to me. I play with them till they fit. But sometimes I'm just in line at Starbucks and I'm cannot believe fucking hipster in green Doc Martens tweet. Sometimes it's just that. And sometimes it's more than that. And sometimes it's, I always try to tweet links. I think if I had sort of rules for tweeting, it would be be funny, if funny is who you are, if funny is what you do. Tweet links. Everyone likes a link. Neil Gaiman tweets links, even though he could tweet his bowel movements and people would like that. I mean, I follow him, but yeah, I do. I mean, there has to be some editing going into it because that's writing that you're publishing, and I think you should never ever forget it. When you hit that tweet button, that is published forever and ever and ever. So yes, edit.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Hello. I'm Inga. I'm standing here behind the microphone.
Oh, there you are. Hello.
I'm
hi.
from a blog called Me and Reading in Estonia, in Europe.
Oh, gosh. Hi.
Hi. My question is regarding translations of your books. I know that you are very popular in US and also in Europe.
I'm huge in Japan.
English. I know that, yes.
Yeah, it's huge.
So I'm curious if your books are already translated into other languages than English.
They are 30 languages, but I don't know if Estonian is one of them.
No, it's not yet.
It's not? Okay. Could we just add extra vowels to the end?
No, I can read in English, no problem with that. So the other question is about your books being made to movies.
Right.
Any plans on that?
What I tell people is that I had basically the perfect experience an author can have having a book made into a film. And I know that it was a perfect experience because I did a panel with 3 other authors who had books made into movies, okay? Claire Cook, who wrote Must Love Dogs, which was made into a movie with John Cusack, Jacqueline Michard, who's Deep End of the Ocean, Michelle Pfeiffer, and, oh my God, blanking on her name, Practical Magic, Anne Hoffman. Okay, so we're doing this event. It's raising money for a homeless women's charity, okay? So like we're all on our best behavior. I'm not cursing, okay? That is how best behavior I am on. So they show clips of everybody's movies, and they show a clip of Must Love Dogs, and Claire is talking about like being on the set, and they gave her a director's chair with her name on it, and it was amazing. And then they show Deep End of the Ocean, and Jackie's talking about being an Oprah pick, and oh my God, that was incredible. And they show In Her Shoes, and I talk about getting my Nana to be an extra, and how I was finally the #1 grandchild, which is really hard because my mom is gay, and my Nana's still pissed about it. And then they show the scene where it's Nicole Kidman and Sandra Bullock dancing around in their nightgowns to Put de Lime into Coconut. And the lights come up, and Alice Hoffman leans into the microphone and says, "I fucking hated that movie." And all these like nice New England ladies that are there to like give money to the homeless are just like, ha, ha. So, you know, I loved, like, they got a great screenwriter, they wrote a great script, they had a great cast. You know, I think there were a lot of Jewish men very happy to believe that Cameron Diaz was Jewish. My brothers were thrilled. Yeah, and so, like, that went so well that, like, honestly, like, I know that there are writers, like Susan Isaacs, whose book Shining Through is one of my favorites, and that was made into a movie with, like, Melanie Griffith as a Jew, and that wasn't so good. And, you know, I think that there are writers, or like John Irving's A Door in the Floor, which was Simon Birch, which was part of, Owen Meany, thank you. Okay, they messed that up. And I think that there are authors that have to spend a lot of their career saying, you know, that's really not the way I saw it. And I don't have to say that. Like, they kept so much of what made In Her Shoes. Like, they kept the Jewish aspects. They kept the old people. They set it in Philadelphia. They didn't go shoot in Vancouver with, like, a styrofoam Liberty Bell. So, I mean, I got no complaints. If it happens again, that's fantastic. If it doesn't happen again, like, I will live my life happily.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, in the brown.
You did a really brilliant analysis of how blogging activity has come in where mainstream media is today.
Yes.
Its flaws. Where do you see this going in the next 3 to 5 years?
You know, I think bloggers are going to become more and more important.
But does that also mean that the New York Times, I mean, all the newspapers, as you pointed out,
are cutting.
Struggling?
Yeah.
Are they becoming less relevant?
They are. I mean, I think like that's like a bold and sort of scary thing to say, but from what I've seen, like newspapers need advertising dollars to support their book sections. If I'm a novelist, I am not spending my ad dollars in newspapers necessarily. I'm going to spend them where I know my readers are going, and that's blogs. So I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I don't know how newspapers are going to make themselves more palatable to a community that's gotten used to a level of interactivity that newspapers struggle to provide, and a level of coverage that they can't. I mean, there's just not enough room for them to cover every book that blogs can. So I'm not going to be surprised to see newspapers move the entirety of their book coverage online. I think that's what's going to happen next.
Something that I see is that, there are all of these niche blogs, and certainly niche publications, magazines, trade magazines, whatever they're very, very helpful.
Yeah.
But we're losing that general space we discovered.
Yes.
And that's the space that the newspaper one time held.
Right.
But for all the reasons that you outlined with the New York Times, it became,
Yeah, for those of you who can't hear, she's asking about sort of newspapers providing general coverage of sort of the book of the moment, right? Like the new John Irving comes out, everybody covers it. The new Michael Chabon comes out, everybody covers it. I think newspapers are going to continue to do that, but I think that they also are going to recognize that there's much more to be covered and there's other places to do it. I mean, online is endless. And as Joe Conrath says, those books stay on the shelves forever. And the reviews stay on the shelves forever. So I think we're going to see a movement in that direction is what I believe, I think. What do we think? Like one more question? How are we doing? Yes, in the back.
What do you think about indie writers and what the advice you would give to?
Indie writers, hello. I actually do. I have a whole thing on if you go to my weblog, my website, there it is, there's the word. It's jenniferweiner.com because I am super fucking creative. And if you go there, there's about 20 pages of advice for writers, including what do I do if I can't get an agent, or what do I do if I have an agent and can't get a publisher, okay? And I think that every writer has to answer that question for herself and decide, like, okay, is it this book? Like, is this, many writers have the book that got them an agent that didn't get published. Many writers have that book. Many other writers have the book that lives in a shoebox under their bed that will never, ever be published because it's a piece of shit. You know, I think that, but I do think that, I mean, everybody, like, every editor has the story of the big book they missed, okay? There are editors who passed on Bridget Jones's Diary. There are editors who passed on The Lovely Bones. There are books that have been, you know, somebody has said, like, my agent can't sell this, I'm gonna put it online, I'm gonna give it a great cover, I'm gonna give it a great blurb, let's see what happens. And there have been success stories. But I think you have to understand that success as an indie writer is about as rare as success as a mainstream writer, which is to say, don't quit your day job. So, but go to my website. I have, like, there's a whole thing about it. You can read the whole thing about it. I thought about it more. So, all right, I'm gonna get a muffin, and thank you guys. This was fun and cool, and enjoy yourselves. Thank you.